When should I lower my calories? So you've seen my posts on track, measure, adjust, and repeat. So track your intake, measure your body composition stats, adjust if you don't see any changes, and repeat that process to continue to ultimately work towards achieving your goals. Now, two things that I want to talk about, two dieting truths that are tried, tested, and true we know all too well before we get into when to actually make changes. One, sustainability is the most important thing with your diet. The way you eat has to be in a way that is sustainable. So if it's not sustainable, it doesn't matter what goals you are going to achieve, they're not going to last. So keep that in mind. Is you really want to find an approach that helps to fuel your life in a happy, healthy way while slowly inching towards your goals. And slowly is the second thing. The slower, if weight loss is a goal, the slower you lose weight, the more likely you are to keep it off. So keeping those two things in mind. The next thing I want to talk about is a plateau and defining a plateau, because I think a lot of people have a misconception about when they're actually in a plateau. And a plateau for me, if I'm working with a client, is when they have adhered to their goals and to consistent behaviors. Of course, not, being perfect all the time. That is not what I would recommend to any client. But you feel like you're doing a good job, you're putting in the time and the effort, and it's been about 6 weeks and you haven't seen any change. And if it's been 6 weeks and you haven't seen any change and you're working hard, then that is when it might be time to look at your numbers and to make an adjustment. But it's also important to note that plateaus, they get this really bad rap. But maintenance in itself is progress. We live in a world where obesity is constantly on the rise, and ultimately so is body mass index. And if you are maintaining, you are actually ahead of the curve. Now, most people don't want to hear that. Well, I didn't join this program, or I'm not doing these workouts, or putting in this effort with tracking just to maintain. But the reality is, a plateau might be a good thing for a few reasons. One, maybe your body is just adjusting. Sometimes it takes time to adjust to some of the things that you are doing, and what you'll see is you get to a point where whether it be changes throughout your body or through your mind, and when you're ready for things, then you can carry on with your ways. And by maintaining that plateau or maintaining consistency, it's going to kind of look like this versus the opposite trend, right, which we definitely don't want to see. That can be success in itself. And again, it's all about that long-term approach. If you can play the long-term approach, enjoy your plateaus while you have them, enjoy a little bit of a maintenance phase while you have it. Maybe use that maintenance phase, to plan around different activities or times in your life. Perhaps a month like December, the holiday season, there's lots going on, typically lots of social events, lots of different types of foods, treats, and desserts. Maybe this is a great time to just settle into sort of a maintenance phase or a plateau, however we distinguish that. But keeping that in mind. Now, when would we adjust calories is for the reason I said before, where it's been about 6 weeks. And what you don't want to see, for the most part, what you don't want to see, I mean, there's always exceptions to any rule, but what you don't want to see is, okay, start my diet, start tracking, I see changes, boom, it stops for about 3 days, maybe a week. Okay, adjust my calories, drop another 250. Okay, lost another couple pounds. And then after about 2 weeks, okay, it stopped. Okay, adjust. It's got to be slow, steady, and gradual. And that's why that 6 week number, and sometimes it could even be longer than that, is a good number. And the other thing too, so in any exercise I prescribe, I always take into consideration the risk and the reward, right? And the same goes for adjusting your calories. And it's not so much that there's a risk, unless you're really adjusting them too low, or you're just seeing unhealthy habits with food sort of creep in, where you're constantly fixated on the amount of calories that you're eating and the amount of weight that you're going to lose in getting to a particular number. We definitely don't want to get to that point. And if it is getting to that point, then we probably want to lose the tracking altogether. But the risk reward ratio is more of a, okay, if I'm going to reduce my calories, is it going to make me happier based on the changes that I'm seeing? Because if you reduce the calories, great, and you might start to see changes, but the effect of your day-to-day life, your overall life, whether it be more irritable at work, irritable at home, not able to enjoy yourself with family or friends, that's going to be where that sort of risk is maybe not worth it. Maybe not at this time, right? Maybe not in a time like December, or for a variety of other factors. So it's important to weigh those things out when you're looking to make changes, to keep in mind that sustainability is key and that slow is the best way to go about it, that being in a plateau, or how I like to refer it to as just maintaining, is a good thing, and you can still make progress if you are in maintenance, working on building up exercise consistency, lifting more weights, doing more lunges, maybe not doing more lunges, but doing the amount of lunges that I prescribe you to do with heavier weights, things like that, right? And so that is, in a nutshell, hopefully you learned from it when you should adjust calories. And so if you get to a point where, okay, I've been doing consistent behaviors, maybe another area where you might adjust calories is, okay, I started at a higher end, and I started because I just wanted to learn and track my macros and see what was going on. And now I feel comfortable with where I'm at, and so I'm going to reduce. Maybe that's a time where you want to adjust calories. For myself personally, I'm doing something called Jake's Diary, where I'm doing sort of a mini cut phase, 12 weeks, and just, learning through my own experience and teaching through my own experience. And I had a week where I didn't see any changes, and I was like, do I cut? Do I not cut? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait it out. And I waited it out, and the result was favorable. So all that to say, just be conscious of these things when you're making changes to your patterns. And of course, if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me for advice.